I think it's time you stop painting your baseboards white. Even though it's been a standard in interior design for a while now, there are actually many benefits to painting your trim and woodwork the same color as your walls instead of switching to a white or even an off-white paint color. While a nice simply white baseboard is a great way to add a wonderful clean finish, and I've actually used it in this room, I've been noticing more and more people continuing their wall color onto their trim in many situations, and there's a good reason for it. In fact, I'm gonna give you 6 reasons why you shouldn't paint your trim white. So right from the get-go, there are many ways you can treat trim and woodwork color selection, namely going with a white paint color or a more contrasting darker color. But today's video is about keeping things extremely simple and just continuing your wall color onto your trim. I'll give you the reasons why I think it's a good idea, and then at the end of the video, I'll also tell you one massive consideration you need to make before you do this yourself. The first reason is simplicity, especially in the color selection process. You're quite literally removing one entire step that you would have to go through if you were trying to find that perfect holy grail off-white to coordinate with your other colors. No need to worry if cloud white is gonna go with your Stonington gray walls. You don't need to match your trim and wall color if they're exactly the same. So it's not really an awesome design reason, but it can't be understated that any way you can simplify the whole process, you do that. And before you continue that wall color onto your trim, make sure it's the right color in general. So take a mighty board, give it some paint, and test it out in the room you're using it in. If you haven't heard of mighty boards yet, I'll be sure to leave their information down below. Another practical reason is in the application process itself. When your trim and your walls are the same color, it makes painting a bit easier, as well as future touch-ups down the road. This is important for my do-it-yourselfers watching that prefer to tackle painting projects by yourself. It's a lot more difficult to get those really nice clean lines on your trim and your woodwork when you have to paint them white, for example. Any little mistake is really gonna show, especially if you got shaky hands. It seems like a small benefit, but if you've painted yourself, you'll know how beneficial this is. I can't tell you how much joy it brings when I'm painting wainscoting, and then I find out that the customer wants it the same color as the wall color, so I don't have to go in afterwards and get my brush and paint every single one individually. But I'll do it if I have to. And on that note, I've really been noticing more and more people going for this look anyway. For the third reason to paint your trim the same color as your walls, it's more of a subtle, simplistic look. Whether you're just dealing with baseboards, or you have chair railings, board and batten, or even built-ins. By keeping everything the same color, the design elements incorporate themselves to one another seamlessly. It all just blends in, and this could be a really good thing. That way, the only thing that's really differentiating all these surfaces are the textures themselves, as you go from smooth walls to more intricate woodwork that you may have. I'm not saying that white chair railings are old-fashioned or something, but just from my first-hand experience, there's definitely been less and less people choosing to have that look. The nice thing is, this goes for whether you're gravitating towards lighter or darker colors. It works for lighter ones because you don't need to worry about clashing off-whites or wall and baseboard colors that are so close to one another that they look a little bit off against each other. Like we've been saying, they're all going to be the same color, which alleviates any of these little concerns. And it also works for those darker colors because if you are going for a dramatic look and you're going with a really deep hunter green or charcoal gray, you don't necessarily want to break that up with a bright white line of painted woodwork. This is especially the case if you have woodwork that is extremely detailed and intricate, and you're really not too fond of showing that off. All the more reason to camouflage it, or at least blend it in with your wall color. You may also notice that this strategy can make a space look larger and more expansive. This is because you're eliminating those visual lines in the form of your trim and your frames and your baseboards. Your walls are not going to feel cut off or finished, and this is because they're going to continue into the woodwork itself. I guess it just gives the illusion of a more immersive design that you'll feel enveloped in, rather than some other one that is just cut off by baseboards and molding, and it's all nice and pretty, but That's it. If you want, you can take this a step further and have the color continue onto the ceilings as well. And a lot of people do this, which is admittedly much more common with those lighter colors like off-whites, but it's just another thing to help streamline the painting process by just opting for the one color. My big reason for painting your trim to match your walls is it gives you a little more creative freedom. Believe it or not. Even though you're removing one paint color from your overall color palette, you're adding the ability to allow other aspects of your design to become the focal point. It may not seem like a lot, but by matching your walls and your trim colors, you'll have even more of a canvas to work off of with other aspects of your decor. So whether you're going with a neutral beige, which literally looks like a painter's canvas, or something more bold and dramatic, either way, each look will feel more modern and, more importantly, focused. This is not to say that white trim is without its benefits, because it can add a really nice finish to the paint job, but it's definitely worth considering matching your trim with your walls. Before you do, however, one major consideration you need to make is the type of paint that you're using on your walls and your trim. Even though you may be going with that same color from one to the other, you should not be using the same paint for both purposes. What may be ideal for walls may not work on trim. And I talked all about picking the right paint finish in a video right here, which you should not miss.